So, should we bring in the closer?
I think it'd be a good time for that.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome finally back to episode number 99 of the Free Baseball Podcast. It's been like 3 months or whatever it's been since the last time we did one of these because we're really bad at this. We're going to eventually figure this out. But, oh well, 100 is going to happen before the end of the year, I think. And we don't know yet. But before that happens, before we talk stuff, how's it going, Jake, in California land?
It's going really hot. It's got 100 degrees outside. And as always, if you've been a listener for the last, we're in year 3. That's crazy.
For real.
I don't have AC. I didn't have AC when I lived at my last place too. So that's been a common thread throughout the podcast. But yeah, it's 1,000,000 degrees in here. My windows are open, but I'm going to be sweating. But, that's the price you pay to live in beautiful California.
And just like Jake's apartment, Ian Happ has been absolutely red hot. He is hitting 321 since the 12th of last month because we haven't done one of these in forever. So 321, 448 on base percentage, 705 slug. He scored 18 runs for Cubs offense. That is really bad. 8 home runs after having 2 before that. 25 RBIs, 2 steals. He's good for 1.5 F/WAR. Segue first, pretty good. Ian Happ, even better.
Yeah, I got loads of stats. He's on my fantasy team in the league that we're in, so I have my eye on him always. And I drafted him thinking he was one of the most safe outfielders, or one of the safest outfielders available after pick 100. So I drafted him around 150, and he started off terribly through the first half of May. Through the first month and a half of the season, he batted .219 with 1 home run and a 90 WRC plus. It was abysmal, and I was really worried that he was just going to have a really huge down year. But since then, absolutely bonkers. 171 WRC plus, 13 home runs, 6 stolen bases since the middle of May. Just absolutely ridiculous from Ian Happ, and he's just continued it this whole time. And I'm glad to see that he is back on track and is back to being the Ian Happ that's earned all-star selections in the past.
Definitely. So it's good. I'm a Cubs fan. If you haven't seen the podcast before, here's some cool stuff. This is from @Cody_CHGO on Twitter. This is what Fangraphs has for him on high leverage. He found these stats, not me, because that's just one thing about it. So for 45 appearances that are considered high leverage, he's hitting 342. He has a 444 on base percentage, and he's slugging 816. That's good for a 1.260 OPS, 244 WRC plus in high leverage, walking more than he's striking out, also 15.6 to 13%, almost flat K percentage. Ian Happ is really, really good. It's weird that you mentioned the safe bet thing. It was sort of weird, and especially considering the start of the season, it was really slow. He's not a super notorious slow starter. Mm-hmm. There's guys that are sort of labeled that. Ian Happ is not one. I remember a couple of seasons ago where he literally homered on the first pitch of the season. And that was when he was still sort of, establishing himself, but he's been kind of like a rock steady hand and not like a really, really streaky guy, but he is absolutely red hot right now. Just like our next guy that we're going to talk about, we always do 2 of these, and we're going to talk about a pitcher this time. Is Hunter Brown for the Houston Astros. He's made 5 starts. So we'll start with the first one, and then this was on the 14th against the Tigers. He went 7 innings pitched. He had 5 hits, no earned, no walks, 9 strikeouts, 15 whiffs, which is good for a 34% called strikes plus whiffs percentage. Next start against the White Sox on the 19th. 6 innings this time, 7 hits, 1 earned, no walks again, 6 strikeouts, 11 whiffs, 25% CSW. The Rockies on the 25th, 6 innings again, 2 hits, no earned, 3 walks, 7 Ks, 20 whiffs, 33% CSW. And then on the 1st of July, he has to start against the Toronto Blue Jays. 6 innings again, 2 hits again, no earned again, 3 walks again, this time 2 less strikeouts, 5 Ks. 8 whiffs this time, a little lower, 25% CSW, and his last one he made just 4 days ago on the 6th. He went 6 innings, gave up 12 hits this time, sort of a rougher one, 7 earned, 1 walk, 6 Ks, 12 whiffs this time, good for just shy of 30% CSW, 29%.
Yeah, Hunter Brown really has had an up and down season. He started off with 4 scoreless frames in his season debut, and then was really rough for his next few starts. So like through his first 8 starts, he had a 7.71 ERA. It was one of the worst in the majors. But then since then, which includes the 4 starts prior to the stretch we just talked about, and I'm not going to be including that final 7-run start. The 8 starts after his first 8 starts, he pitched to a 1.29 ERA with a 28% strikeout rate. That's pretty dope. And then he came back down to earth with this 7-run outing against the Twins in Minnesota. And I think Hunter Brown is probably going to be like this throughout the year. He's not somebody that has consistent enough control of his arsenal to be able to go out on a day-to-day basis, a start-to-start basis, and dominate every time out. But he's proven that he can go on stretches where he has success because he has the feel for all of his pitches. But also proved that can quickly disappear and everything can fall apart. I think in that last start, his fastball was good, his cutter was good, and then nothing else was good. So that was really all he had to deal with. He also was not throwing strikes. He had a sub 60% strike rate on the cutter, and that's going to hurt you.
Definitely is. And Sarah Lang's found this stat. You know her if you are plugged into baseball stats at all. She's the GOAT. So he's in pretty illustrious company with this 5-start span. So this was previously discounting the 7 earned run blowout or a blow up that you mentioned. So pitchers with a sub 0.30 ERA in a 5-start span in all of Astros history, he is amongst Nolan Ryan twice, J.R. Richard twice, and Jim Deshaies once. So 2 really, really good guys. And Jim Deshaies. So, pretty solid company there. Hunter Brown was sort of supposed to be the next big thing for their rotation since they just sort of lost a lot of guys. The Astros were a juggernaut and are still a good team, if not a great team. But Hunter Brown was expected to be like the next up and coming ace for them. And he has been sort of up and down. And it's to be expected, I think. You said he really rarely ever has control of that arsenal, and that kind of has shown due to sort of the ebbs and flows. It just seems like the out pitch is sort of strange. Like the knuckle curve is what his big out pitch, would you say? I don't have a STLE pulled up.
I got you. The curveball, I think there is a stat called out percentage.
There's one on there's put away percentage on Savant.
Put away percentage. I got you. 19.2%. He's in the 58th percentile, 19.2% with the curveball.
That kind of checks out.
18%. He finishes batters off mostly with the 4-seamer at 24%. But that pitch is used a lot more.
Fair enough. So it's just sort of a weird one for Hunter Brown. Hopefully he can continue to be good, I guess. Or maybe not if you're not an Astros fan. Moving on, we can talk about the multiple players of the week since we've missed almost a whole month. And we can start with the players of the week for week 11. Former Astro this time. 2 former Astros. Carlos Correa for the AL side. JD Martinez for the NL side.
Yeah, Correa has really surprised me this year. I mean, after last year's 230 batting average, 96 WRC plus, it felt like as Correa's entering his late 30s, he's probably going to start going downhill. But he's always proven in the past that when he does have a down year, he bounces back pretty strong. In the past, we've seen a 101 WRC plus in 2018, and he bounced back with a 142 WRC plus. Then in 2020, 94 WRC plus, bounced back with a 133. So then last year, 96 WRC plus. Now he's bounced back 148 WRC plus, and it's pretty close to the best batting he's had in his entire career. He's batting .303 now with 12 home runs. So Correa not only rediscovering his power stroke after hitting just 18 home runs last year, but also cutting back on the strikeouts, which has helped his batting average climb. And then his typically elite defense at shortstop is allowing him to really rack up the WAR, and he could be a 5 to 6 WAR player this year, that's really good and would be probably the second or first best season of his career.
Yeah, so since June 9th, he's actually going completely off. He is sort of a slow starter. Hitting .382, .452 on base percentage. He's got .638 slug. It was the second highest batting average in that span. I think it's gone down to 3rd. He's doing really well. You can find if you go to like the Twins sites. I kind of follow the Twins. I don't know why I do. They're just sort of an interesting team. So there's some cool websites on like Twins Daily and stuff like that if you want to follow the Twins. But yeah, Carlos Correa really looked like he was kind of like a bad signing, a bad contract after last year, if that was kind of the repeat. And no, looks like Carlos Correa is doing well in a Twins lineup that is kind of a mishmash of just guys, just a bunch of dudes, random guys, and they're doing well. I called up Brooks
I
Lee.
feel like they're the AL version of the Brewers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think they might have taken that mantle away from the Guardians because we've mentioned the Guardians as being like the AL Brewers for a long
The
time.
Guardians
Maybe
are
that's
like
just a
the
division.
AL Pirates to me.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but they're
Very,
actually
very
good.
different teams, but in terms of like spending,
In terms
and
of their
like,
owner being a cheap ass, yeah,
yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, I could see that. But that's good. It's funny we've mentioned. Well, I was gonna say I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to week 12. We can talk about JD Martinez, another former Astro. Give me the lowdown on what JD Martinez had been doing.
I have not been paying attention to him at all this year, and he signed late, so he started late. He made his debut on April 26th, so he missed nearly the entirety of the first month. But I mean, he's been typical solid JD Martinez, 136 WRC plus, which is actually better than last year because he's greatly increased his plate discipline, cut back on the strikeout rate, increased the walk rate, and then has maintained pretty decent power. I mean, not much else to expect from JD Martinez other than batting like solid, but cool to see him still producing at 36 and not for the Dodgers.
Yeah, fair enough. Definitely. So we can move on to our next week and we'll just go ahead and run through them. So our week 12 players of the week, talk about the Guardians. I got ahead of myself earlier. We can talk about Josh Naylor first. And then the NL side, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, Josh Naylor is one of my favorite players, honestly. I just love the fire he plays with. He showed it a lot the past couple of years, but then last year he took his game to an elite level and proved to be a guy with great bat-to-ball skills for someone that doesn't look like he would have great bat-to-ball skills. And I say that because he's like 5'11", 250.
Mm-hmm. He's like he's built like a typical like big slugger Prince Fielder type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he is not, except he finally figured out how to do that and has maintained his ability to make contact at an elite level. So he's already set a career high with 22 home runs. He set a career high initially in 2022 with 20. So he's already surpassed that, still with a couple more months to go, 3 more months to go. And although his batting average is down to 247, it's because of a dangerously low BABIP. So, I mean, he's upped his game to another level. And I think it's super dope to see because Josh Naylor last year was already one of the most exciting and best first basemen in baseball. And the fact that now he's incorporated elite power into his game, like enough to be like a 35 to 40 home run guy, that's incredible.
And we'll talk about him a little bit later with the All-Star rosters being released. And we can move on to perennial All-Star Shohei Ohtani.
Guy's bonkers. I mean, you stop him from pitching and he just becomes the best hitter in baseball. He's got the best WRC plus of his career at 188. He's already worth 5 WAR. All he does is designated hit. He's got 28 home runs, 21 stolen bases, batting 315. I like it's we've become so accustomed to how incredible Ohtani is that we don't recognize his greatness when it's right in front of us. But yeah, the guy just never stops being the best player that we've ever seen in our entire lives.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the color red, if you've never seen it before, you should go look at Shohei Ohtani's Baseball Savant page, and you'll find a whole lot of it. He's just one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's not pitching. So next year when he is pitching, you just get both. He's just he's a joke. It's like someone made him up. And we're just talking about a fictional player in like a video game every time we talk about Shohei Ohtani, and that's just going to continue to be the realistic case forever. I don't know. I want to say like people are getting tired of Shohei Ohtani, but like I feel like I'm not. I feel like I can't. You know, he's the best. Well, he's the best baseball player we'll ever see. Likely though, like it sucks he plays for the Dodgers, but we're watching one of the unicorns of professional sports playing, so it's still cool. Although I wish it was not for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Anyway, week 13, we'll go on to some non-Dodgers players. And we'll start with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., son of a former Angel. So Vladdy, and then our NL player of the week for week 13 was Jonathan India from the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, Vladdy was looking like he was going to have another like mid-season like he did last year. And I was, I don't know, definitely disappointed, but I sort of expected it. It just felt like he is not... It felt like he wasn't really the elite hitter that he proved to be in 2021. Mm-hmm. And he was still really good in 2022. A 133 WRC plus was a huge step back from his MVP caliber campaign, but that's still a third better than an average major league hitter. And he's right back up to that level and has actually surpassed that. So that's really cool to see him recover some power in his game after hitting just 26 homers last year and to sort of escape that place that he was in where he was becoming a bust after having already lived up to his potential, and just looking like his career was just going to go downhill from here as he becomes more defensively limited and his like raw skills age, and he just becomes worse and worse. So it's cool to see him recover and look like an elite hitter again.
Definitely. So another name that we will also mention much later in the podcast when we go over the All-Star rosters. And then on the other side, we have Jonathan India, who is a bit more of an interesting one than Vladdy, because it sort of felt like he might end up being the odd man out with a Reds roster that's sort of in a youth craze right now, even though it feels like he's not an older player. He's like 27. It just felt like he might end up being left on the outside looking in for the Reds player of the week. Hopefully he sticks around.
Yeah. In the offseason, especially when they brought in Jeimer Candelario, and they just had so many infielders, but then Noelvi Marte got suspended, Matt McLean got injured, and really quickly that infield lost all of its depth and required India to be a contributor every single day. And since his rookie year, it really felt like he's not that great. And I didn't have high expectations for him this year, especially with the uncertainty surrounding his playing time. But since the calendar turned to June, India's been batting .336 with a 161 WRC plus. So now for the year, he's got a 118 WRC plus, which is his best since his rookie season in 2021. The power isn't there as it used to be, but the fact that he's walking more than ever, which was like his calling card in the minor leagues and hasn't been the case in the majors, and is hitting the ball hard again consistently. I think it's cool to see him back to normal, and I think we can trust that he's probably going to be an integral part of this Reds roster going forward, unless they do decide to do what everybody's been expecting them to do for the last couple of years and trade him.
Definitely so. And now with a lot of those guys coming back, he's seeing more at bats, honestly, DHing. I've seen a couple of their lineup cards being released, and he's just still getting at bats, and that's good for him because he kind of needs to stick around to have a job. He's got a 118 WRC plus this year, already worth 2 WAR. So, I mean, he's already kind of proving himself a little bit with a Reds team that I think is I think people had higher expectations for the Reds than the Reds actually had than the Reds expected from themselves. Mm-hmm. He'll still stick around. Like he'll be a part of that team. And if not, he's still potentially going to be a valuable trade chip to be moved. And then week 14, we can get back to talking about the Minnesota Twins and then our favorite baseball team. We have on the AL side, Jose Miranda, and on the NL side, Brenton Doyle, Colorado Rocky.
Yeah, Miranda's really disappointing me. There was a point, I think 2 weeks ago, where I was debating in our fantasy league between Carlos Santana and Jose Miranda. Very similar players in terms of limited power potential, like guys that are probably going to peak between 20 and 25 home runs with great bat to ball skills and are slow, so they're not going to have high BABIPs. And both have great plate discipline metrics. Miranda doesn't strike out, but he doesn't walk, while Carlos Santana is like the classic same amount of walks as strikeouts. So I went with Santana because he's safer and he's better in our league, and he's, one of my favorite players for all the stuff he's done for me in fantasy. And then of course, as soon as I make that decision to go away from Miranda, he just becomes the best hitter in baseball and just goes
completely
bonkers.
Stupid.
Yeah. Now I have him nowhere. Now he's batting .332 on the season with 9 home runs. And recently, it's been absolutely insane. Since the beginning of June, Miranda is batting .402 with a 204 WRC plus. He's striking out just 11% of the time. He's batting over 400 for over a month. It's ridiculous. And this is not out of nowhere. This is a guy who was a top prospect because of his performance in the minor leagues. And we saw in 2022, he climbed from AA to AAA, or no, that was 2021. What am I looking at? 2021. He had 30 home runs between AA and AAA, and he struck out like 12% of the time. So I've been interested in him for years, but I don't know why I went for the safer route rather than the upside route. But that's what price you pay making decisions in fantasy.
Yeah. Jose Miranda also got to join part of a historical club full of some names of baseball players that sound like from that one account that only comes up with fake baseball player names.
Yeah.
So he became one of 4 players that recorded a hit in 12 straight at bats. He joined Johnny Kling, Pinky Higgins, and Walt Dropo. What a guy. So he's been extremely, extremely good. Bat to ball skills excellent. He hit a home run. I don't know. You remember last year when they had the really whack fishing vest? They replaced it. They replaced it with their home run prop. It's a pimp hat. It's fucking awesome, man. I'm gonna send you a picture. I'm gonna send you a picture of it. It's definitely a purple. It's definitely a purple pimp hat. And on the other side, we can talk about Brenton Doyle, who quietly on an extremely terrible Rockies team has been one of the best hitters in all of the in all of the NL throughout the entire season. He's just been really, really good, extremely good fantasy baseball player. He's just awesome, man. He leads qualified NL center fielders in home runs, doubles, OPS, and stolen bases. And this is a guy that people really didn't expect to hit. They knew like he won the Gold Glove last year. Did he win the Platinum Glove? Am I bugging?
No, Tatis.
Then that's right. Probably should have. But he won a Gold Glove in center last year in the NL, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's a glove guy with the Rockies." Nah, he's an extremely good hitter, and it's probably aided by Coors some, but still, he's doing it everywhere.
I mean, last year he did prove to be just a glove guy. He had a 43 WRC plus. He was absolutely terrible at the plate, but bonkers in the field, like best defensive center fielder in baseball.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, and he's covering so much ground in Colorado. I've been to that park a few times, and that outfield is enormous. But the changes Doyle has made, I'm just like crazy that he's been able to make these changes over an offseason and improve his WRC plus by 70%. Crazy. Now he's actually a good hitter. Like you said, one of the better hitters in center among center fielders. And that's crazy because he's maintained his elite defense in center field. But I mean, all the changes he's made, he's increased his walk rate. He's decreased his strikeout rate. The BABIP is up. His barrel rate has increased. His hard hit rate has increased. His max exit velocity is not increased, but his average exit velocity has. So it's like everything supports him taking his game to another level. And he's proven this in the minors as well. He used to strike out way too much, like 30%, but he did prove that he can steal 25 bags and hit 25 home runs while batting over 300 in the minors. So now that he's actually doing that, like we can actually believe that. And the fact that it's backed up by a huge decrease in strikeout rate, like more than 10%, I think it's believable too that he is a different player than he was last year at the plate. So he's going to be pretty dope this year. And I could definitely see him hitting 20 home runs and stealing 35 bags and being worth like 5 WAR, which would be wild.
Definitely. So he's already worth 2.8 WAR. Excuse me. He's almost walking 4% more. He's striking out 11% less, and he's just mashing. He's just completely mashing. I think there's a Fuzzy brought this to attention, but I think it'd be a really funny one. He's on 20-20-20 watch. He has 13 home runs. He has 20 steals, and right now he has 8 outs above average from Statcast. So he could realistically have 20 outs above average, over 20 steals, and over 20 home runs. He's been just really good. Yeah, he is kind of just completely raking at Coors, and that's where a lot of his offensive output is coming, and he's struggling away. But he's a Rockies player. They all do that. It's just even outside of the heavy offensive environment, because you're in such a heavy offensive environment, and because of the elevation change, a lot of them struggle on the road. You obviously write for Pitcher List. Nick always has the thing where it's Rocky Road. Hitters on the road from the Rockies are gonna be bad, and it is because they're a bad team, but it's also because they always do that. They always struggle a little bit more on the road. But Brenton Doyle, I mean, he's just doing extremely well at Coors. So I mean, at some point you can point to it and be like, it's probably not just Coors. It's the adjustments he's making. Like we said, he's doing extremely, extremely well. And we will end up talking about him a little bit later as well. I think, was he their All-Star? I think he was.
No.
That's so dumb. Why was he not All-Star?
Yeah, he probably was. I can't remember.
I don't even
no, it's
see
Ryan McMahon.
That's so stupid. Anyway, he should have been. And we might talk about that later with some snubs. So we're going to get on to our All-Star week. But before we talk about the rosters or anything, got to talk about the jerseys. We've talked about jerseys on like every single podcast this year.
Yeah, that's our thing.
Yeah, with jersey podcast.
These are the jerseys. These are bad.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Well,
ass. I don't know. There's been worse. There's definitely been worse.
Oh yeah,
but they're not.
I think the shades of red and blue are bad.
Yes. Yeah, they are. I like the font. The font's cool.
The font is cool. The red and blue clash so hard.
Yeah.
And I also feel like you can't look at this. I mean, I guess you can maybe if you're clued into baseball, but you can't really tell where it's from. You know what I mean?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like they
Like
went
there's
with,
a little bit of a saloon vibe. I don't know.
Yeah, I get the saloon vibe, and it's supposed to be Texas. You can see it with the font.
Yeah.
You can see it with everything. Sure. The color choice for it to be Texas is kind of weird because it's still not like maybe they tried to avoid it being too Rangersy colors. I feel like that's what they tried to do. And I feel like it didn't work. I'm not a big fan. I like the font, but I don't know. It's a little goofy.
I don't know. They just got to go back to letting everybody wear their own jerseys, but I know they'll never do that because it doesn't make them any money to not have new jerseys to sell.
What they should do is let them go back and have them be the base jerseys, and then maybe change the color, either the hat or change the color of the name and the number. You know, like if you, I'm wearing a soccer jersey, but if like a team wins the league in like the Premier League or whatever, they get a gold. They do it in baseball. Yeah, they say they do it with the World Series champion where they put the patch on it, but maybe make it a different color. Maybe make it whatever color like the All-Star thing is, or make it the cool font and just be like, oh yeah, here's the cool font. Maybe here's a patch on the side of the sleeve or something. And give them the hat. But I don't like the All-Star game jerseys. I don't think there's really been good All-Star game jerseys in almost any sport ever. Most of them look bad, and I'm not a fan. Even like other sports, I don't like the All-Star games or the Pro Bowl or what have you. I think they all kind of look pretty ass.
I don't know. They just got to switch it up because it's just like every year it's the same thing, and it just gets worse and worse every year because they just trying to mass produce something for really cheap and make a bunch of money off it. I don't know. It doesn't feel like they thought about this one that long, but I can tell they did the Texas font and then they did the color and sort of the shape of the front of the jersey to be, I don't know, cowboy.
I feel like they did the Texas font and then they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. What else do we do?
Hey, I feel like they did that and they're like, oh great, submit this.
Yeah.
And they sent it back and they're like, change some more stuff. And they're like, oh no, what am I supposed to?
Yeah.
Like I also like the graphic. If you look at the graphic, except the cool like little pattern. Graphic? Yeah, no, I'm talking about like the graphic on this picture.
Oh yeah. You see
on
the edges,
and you see it, on the edges, and you see it in the picture too, like for the logo. If they did stuff with that, like with the trim, and made them like really like heavy. You ever see like the cowboy shirts that have like the little panels, like the button-up shirt? If they made them like that, how gas would that be? That'd be cool
sick.
Those would be super sick.
Bro, get Davis. Get Davis on this team.
Just like, I don't know, these are garbage. They look lazy, and that's been a big problem that we've had consistently. And we are paragons of consistency on this podcast, and we have bitched about a bunch of these City Connects being extremely lazy, like they did them the day before. It felt like they did these the day before also.
Yeah.
Do you get that vibe?
Totally.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. They're super mid. The hats are okay. I'm not a fan. I do the AL hats. Are the AL hats red on the side?
They gotta be.
I would say they have to be. Maybe the AL hats will be really cool because they'll have like the bronze. I'm actually kind of a sucker for like the bronze, like beige color. I actually really like that color. But I don't know. I'm not a fan. They're like a 4 out of 10. I don't think they're the worst things ever made, but they definitely are a little lazy.
Let me see if I can find the AL jerseys.
I'll also look
or the AL hats.
They're just like they're okay.
There's all of them.
Yeah, the hats are cool. I can mess with the hats a little bit. Those are kind of sick, but the jerseys are a little lazy. Not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, that's that. So we can just head on to the rosters.
Yep. Whack. All right, let's move on to our rosters, and I will let you run them down.
Yeah.
And talk about our rosters and maybe some snubs in a little bit.
All right. Okay. We are in July, so that means it is the month of All-Stars. Honestly, one of my favorite months of baseball. I think March and April are great because it's like just getting started, and September's cool because of the playoff race. But July just has that feel with All-Star Week and the draft and the home run derby and everything. It's so awesome. So this is one of my favorite months to podcast and to consume baseball. But we'll hop right into the rosters, which came out, I think, a week ago. We got the starters, and these were voted on by the fans. And it went in 2 phases. We had the first phase with everybody, and then the final phase with just the finalists at each position. And then so there were 2 sets of voting. But anyway, we'll start with the American League. The starting catcher, Adley Rutschman, starting first baseman, Vlad Guerrero Jr., starting second baseman, Jose Altuve, starting third baseman, Jose Ramirez, starting shortstop, Gunnar Henderson, starting left fielder, Stephen Kwan, starting center fielder, Aaron Judge, starting right fielder, Juan Soto, and starting at DH, Yordan Alvarez. Do you see any discrepancies here? Do you look at this lineup and think, okay, yeah, this is the all-star team for the American League?
No, I think this is pretty accurate for me.
If you had to choose one guy to switch out, who would you switch out?
I had to choose one guy to switch out. I would need to look.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did pretty well. And by we, I mean the voters.
I think it's fun. I want to look at one really quick, just because, well, my Fangraphs is going to be a dick about it, so I guess I'm not going to.
I could tell you.
Let's go with it being fine.
I think the only change I would have made probably would have been like Vlad for Naylor, but Vlad.
Yeah, I would probably go with that one too. I think once you get to like the other guys like on the bench, I think it's a little bit weirder. Run down our pitchers really quick.
I'm going to first go to the National League starters, and then we'll go to the reserves for both teams. So the National League starters, we got at starting catcher, William Contreras, starting first baseman, Bryce Harper, starting second baseman, Ketel Marte, starting third baseman, Alec Boehm, starting shortstop, Trey Turner, starting left fielder, Jurickson Profar, starting center fielder, Fernando Tatis Jr., starting in right, Christian Yelich, and starting DH, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, right off the bat, this team feels way worse.
I think so too. It's just not. I don't know. Who's your big one? Who's your biggest defender for you?
I think it's Trey Turner. He just hasn't played a lot this year. He was injured for a while. I want to pull up just so I can see the numbers themselves. He's played 52 games this year. And he's been really good when he's played 156 WRC plus, but it's a very small sample. And both Elly De La Cruz and CJ Abrams have been great and played the entirety of the season.
CJ Abrams is the one that I probably would have went for. He's been quietly extremely good.
Yeah, so those are the starting lineups for both teams. Now we'll get into the pitchers. For the American League, we got Corbin Burns, Tarek Skubal, Seth Lugo, Tanner Houck, Logan Gilbert, Cole Reagans, Garrett Crochet, and Tyler Anderson are the starters. And then the relievers are Mason Miller, Emmanuel Clase, Clay Holmes, and Kirby Yates. A lot of surprises here. I mean, I did not expect to see Seth Lugo, Garrett Crochet, and Tyler Anderson before the season started, but that's pretty crazy. Tyler Anderson being the only Angels All-Star is also pretty crazy. But I think the biggest problem here is that Clay Holmes made the All-Star team because he's on the Yankees.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. Who would you have replaced him with?
Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, I think Kimbrell is probably the one that,
or Kenley Jansen, or anybody else maybe.
Any of the Guardians non-closer.
Hunter Gaddis,
Kate Smith, or Tim Herron. Tim Herron's also been better than him. I don't know. That's sort of a weird one. But it is the Yankees. But okay. Never mind. That's dumb. That's my fault. That's not voted on by the fans. That's bullshit. So,
correct.
Yeah, it's dumb. I feel like that's just like who's a closer, and they just didn't look. Because there's a bunch of guys. Andres Munoz was better than him.
Yes, that's a good one too.
What about Griffin Jacks?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did say that. God, Craig Kimbrell's a wild one. I really am surprised that he's not in there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be one thing if it was just like, oh, look how many like great closers there are in the American League. But what this does is make us go look at Clay Holmes and be like, wait, he's got a 3 ERA and a sub 24% strikeout rate. And then all these other guys we named either have like low 2 or sub 2 ERAs with strikeout rates north of 30%. It's like, why are we doing this? Yeah, I mean, Craig Kimbrell has more saves than Clay Holmes. Also,
Jason Adams not on this list.
Yeah. Very goofy. I think that's one of the biggest misses there. Not even just
Yeah.
who they missed adding, but just putting Clay Holmes. He was not an all-star this year. And I hate to say
No.
that because I'm sure he feels tons of pride in that. And if I were him, I would also, and I would be upset if
Yeah,
other people were
but
like,
he's
nah,
all-
bro, you didn't deserve that. But come
Yeah,
on.
but also
Especially because it's like if he was on like the fucking, I don't know, Tigers and he was doing this, I'd be like,
Nah,
yeah,
yeah,
Clay Holmes,
absolutely.
let's go. But he's on the
Yeah,
Yankees. They've already got all-stars. They're already the best team ever of all time.
Right.
They don't need more guys in the fucking all-star game.
Right, that's true. It's also Clay Holmes, and you're taking away all-star appearances from guys that are like the names we've mentioned are guys that likely will very rarely ever have that chance.
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
when
Get
the
Hunter
when
Gaddis
the,
in there.
when the hell is Hunter Gaddis going to get a chance to be an all-star? And the
Exactly.
season he's been an all-star at that level,
Mhm.
really realistically one of like the top 10 relievers in the AL right now. He's been excellent. Nah, he's not all-star. Like, that's stupid. It's really dumb.
Okay.
Not a fan.
So those are the pitchers for the American League. And I think it'll be more evident when I read the National League ones, but I think it's pretty clear that the American League strength is hitting and the National League strength is pitching. Here are the pitchers for the National League. We got Reynaldo Lopez, Chris Sale, Tyler Glasnow, Paul Skeens, Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler, Logan Webb, and Shota Imanaga are the starters. We got 3 closers, Ryan Helsley, Robert Suarez, and Tanner Scott. And then we also have a couple relievers in Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strahm. And then a late addition starting pitcher, Hunter Green, who's there to replace Tyler Glasnow, who's going to be on the injured list. So Hunter Green makes the all-star team. This staff is way better. I wouldn't say the relievers are much better than the other ones. Right. And I also think it's cool that the Phillies have 2 non-closer relievers make the all-star team. But outside of that, I think dope to see my boy Logan Webb on there. I mean, wild to see Reynaldo Lopez and Chris Sale on there. No, I don't think anybody could have guessed that. But I think the wildest, outside of Shota Imanaga making the all-star team and Yoshinobu Yamamoto not, is Paul Skeens making it after how many starts has he made? Like 10?
Yeah, that's a little goofy. Got to be honest.
No, I'm not. I'm not opposed to it.
He's been
good. Bonkers. He's made 10 starts, 2.12 ERA, 33% strikeout rate. I mean, he's been dominant. And I think it's fun to have him on there. And the fact that Hunter Green is like the first guy to be added, I'm like, okay, they probably didn't miss on too many people.
Fair. I'm looking at something because I think there's a reasonable case that the Phillies could have maybe had 3 non-closer
with Alvarado.
Kerkering's been really good. I think you could honestly make a case for Kerkering.
Yeah.
Kerkering has season. Yeah, but he's almost statistically, like advanced stats wise, identical with Jeff Hoffman, and Jeff Hoffman made it.
Jeff Hoffman has saves though.
Yeah, but that's what
can't argue with saves, buddy. Can't argue with saves.
Look, man, pitcherless. Ooh, look at me, pitcherless guy. Oh, wow. I think you could make a case for Ryan Kerkering if you really, really wanted to, but that's me being a nerd.
Bro, Ryan Kerkering's PLV on his tertiary pitch is not even close to league average. I'm joking.
Wow.
That was a terrible joke. I'm so sorry.
Unreal.
So those are the starters. How are you feeling about Shota Imanaga? Because I think that's dope, and I think that Yamamoto didn't make it, and he did.
Yeah, I honestly think he made it. He's been really good. Don't get me wrong. He's kind of had a few rough starts recently. Except for today, where he beat the Orioles' ass.
Let's go.
But like, the Cubs kind of have to have an all-star, and the rest of their team's been dog shit.
Yeah, nobody else made it.
Yeah, the rest of their team's dog shit. So to be fair though, he's made 17 starts, 0 earned in like 7 of them, which is pretty good.
Nah,
he's had a few. Yeah, he's had a few where he's getting completely blown up. But I love that. I love that guy. He's my goat forever.
So those are the pitchers for the National League. Now we can look at the position playing reserves. We'll go to the American League first and then go back to the National League. The reserves in the AL are Salvador Perez, Josh Naylor, Marcus Semien, Isaac Paredes, Rafael Devers, Carlos Correa, Bobby Witt Jr., Riley Green, Jarren Duran, Kyle Tucker, and David Fry, surprisingly. And then Jordan Westberg was added late. I have no idea who he's replacing. Somebody went on the IL, so he is here. Another all-star for the Orioles. But these are incredible set of reserves here, and I think a set of reserves that even rivals the starters in the National League.
Right, David Fry's a really goofy one, and I think there's a clear one that one probably should have been instead. But Willie Castro. I think Willie Castro
Sure.
probably deserved to be an all-star over him. But yeah, I mean, their reserves here are really good. I was just looking at a few of them. I'm like, huh, that's weird. Kyle Tucker. I think Westberg might be replacing Kyle Tucker because Kyle Tucker is still in the IL.
Mhm.
I think that makes sense. But yeah, that's a really, really stout set of reserves.
Totally. All right. And then in the National League, we got Will Smith, the catcher, Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman, Luis Arias, Ryan McMahon, Ellie De La Cruz, CJ Abrams, Brian Reynolds, Jackson Merrill, Teoscar Hernandez, and Marcel Ozuna. Pete Alonso should not have been an all-star this year, and it should have been Francisco Lindor. And the fact that you can do a direct replacement for his teammate is stupid. I had a stat, actually. Go ahead and talk about Nimmo.
Nimmo too. I really don't know why it wasn't either of them. Pete Alonso was not an all-star this year, and I feel like they might have just dragged him along to throw him in the home run derby and just be like, oh, here's the home run derby man, put him in the all-star game. And that's like kind of shitty, and I'm not a big fan of it. I've got to be honest. Just don't like that. Just don't really like that.
Shoot, cannot find the nope. I can't find the thing, but it was like there have been like 15 players ever with like, I think it was 15 home runs, 15 steals, and something else. And he's the only one to not make the All-Star team. Gosh, I cannot find it. He's also 10th in FWAR in all of baseball. Gosh, I wish I could find that. It's a good tweet. Lindor.
Francisco Lindor.
Oh, I found it.
Lindor probably should have been in.
No, actually, yeah, he's just 5th in the National League in FWAR and just didn't make the team. That's cool.
Brian Reynolds also probably shouldn't have been an all-star, especially if they already gave a Pirates player one with Paul Skeens. I don't think Brian Reynolds should have been all-star. He's worth less than 2 FWAR. He's been a pretty he's been a good-ish hitter, but not an all-star level hitter. And he's been a completely dog shit defender. And then you have guys that got left off, like Christian Walker, who's been one of the best hitters in the National League, and he's worth like 3 FWAR already. Like Christian Walker wasn't an all-star. It makes no sense. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. And if you're going to mention Willie Castro for the American League, I think Josh Smith is somebody that stands out as well. I mean, the most generic name of all time.
For real. Josh Smith's a good call. I think even if you're going to go, you could replace Pete Alonso. You could have 2 Mets be an all-star. If you replace Pete Alonso with Francisco Lindor, you could also replace Brian Reynolds with Brandon Nimmo, who is just better Brian Reynolds. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that at all.
And McMahon being an all-star over Brenton Doyle, I think is goofy. I mean, we talked at length about Doyle, and McMahon is great and like basically the same as Doyle, but just at third base. Actually, he's having his best offensive season ever. 112 WRC plus, though, still worse than Doyle.
WRC plus, like, congratulations, big dog. Yeah. I really don't know.
Well, I mean, you do get destroyed just for playing in Coors, but I'm sure, that would probably be way lower if he wasn't in Coors.
They both play in Coors, so
yeah. No, I just meant like 112 WRC plus isn't. I think if he's on another team with his current slash line, he would look a lot better. But anyway, that's those are the all-star teams. I really felt unorganized going through that.
I think going back to the AL side really quick too. I think the Angels probably had the wrong all-star also.
They had who do they have?
Tyler Anderson. I think Tyler Anderson.
Who would you have?
Yeah, probably should be Logan O'Hoppe.
He is a catcher.
But he's worked more FWAR and he's hitting well. And Tyler Anderson has a 2.8 ERA and nothing that backs that up because he's garbage because he's Tyler Anderson.
Yeah. I feel like it might have to do with
I feel like it might have to do with the fact that the voters are ass. Like, I feel like there's no reason because Logan O'Hoppe's got a 130 WRC plus. He's worth 2 FWAR. He's doing well. He's the everyday catcher. He's walking a lot. He's hitting for average. He's hit 14 home runs. He's doing well for a pretty bad offense. Tyler Anderson has a 2.8 ERA with literally every advanced metric over 4.5. Like, There's
I think
nothing that makes Tyler Anderson good other than the fact that he's gotten lucky.
I think what happened is that, as I was saying before, the American League is stronger on the offensive side than the defensive
Yeah.
side. So they didn't have
So
room for the
add another starting pitcher into the AL side and
yeah.
just put Logan O'Hoppe in there instead of some of the hitters they had on their reserves. Like,
They'd have 2 catchers.
okay,
And they
for
would have 3
example,
catchers.
we could get Salvador Perez is a catcher in like name only though. Like,
What are you talking about? You think Freddie Fermin catches more than he does?
I feel like he's probably a better catcher than he is.
Better is different. Yeah, he's played 52 games
yeah.
at catcher. He's played 52 games at catcher and 38
Okay,
between first base and DH.
Okay, well, how good is he as an actual defensive catcher, Jay?
I will tell you right now. Let's see.
Like,
Outs above average.
Because again,
Wait,
we're
let me
also
do that.
using a
-1 defensive run save.
We're also using a utility spot for catcher / third base or whatever the fuck he plays. David Fry.
We can replace him with
We can
Logan
replace-
O'Hoppe.
That's what.
But
I'm
also,
saying.
he's
I'm not
dope. He's such a
saying-
fun story this year.
Yeah, he is. But like, is he an all-star? Like, I don't know. Because Logan O'Hoppe, I think, is a fun story too. Because he was supposed to have his rookie of the year campaign because he looked like he was doing really well last year.
Mhm.
And AL, he probably was going to lose to Gunnar Henderson, but like still, this year comes back from injury. He's like the one bright spot on the Angels because nothing good happens for them. Give him an all-star spot over Tyler Anderson, who's 40 years old.
I'm on your side. I'm trying to explain their thought process. I think, or what I think their thought process is. To back up your point on Salvi, though, -1 defensive run save for Salvi. Freddie Fermin, the backup, 8 defensive runs saved.
Wow,
he's really good.
Wow, yeah, he is really good at catching, which Salvador Perez
and
is
hitting.
not.
119 WRC plus.
Salvador Perez really just shouldn't catch anymore. Like, is that a bad thing to say? Like, I like Salvi. He just shouldn't catch anymore.
I think you could say worse things.
Well, yeah. I don't hate him. He's great. Like, plus he also kind of gets boned in fantasy if he doesn't have catcher eligibility.
Being bad at catcher is probably worse. Probably the worst thing you could do.
Fair enough.
As a human.
Yep.
All right.
You are the worst human being I've ever heard of. You are a substandard defender as a catcher.
That's why Jorge Lopez in his post-game interview was just like, oh, I'm the worst teammate ever. And they're just like, wait, why? And he's just like, I can't catch. I can't catch for shit. That's why I'm a pitcher.
If you made me catch, I would have way more than -1 defensive run save.
That's right.
Yeah, that guy sucks. All right, let's go on to the home run derby. That's the fun stuff.
Yes, home run derby. I'm just going to run through the list and then we can talk about it as a whole. We got Pete Alonso returning again. What a surprise. We got Alec Boehm, Adolis Garcia, Teoscar Hernandez, Marcell Ozuna, Jose Ramirez, and Bobby Witt Jr. Who do you have the most problem with?
Marcell Ozuna, because I don't want him to do anything. I hate that guy.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck that guy for real. I have I don't like Marcell Ozuna. I think personally that is extremely justified. I think he's a weapons grade dickhead, and I don't think that he should be allowed to do good things. I don't think he should be playing professional baseball personally. I don't think he should. He's had so many problems with like domestic violence and the drunk driving thing and being just complete fool. I don't like good things to happen to that man. Sorry, it's the hater in me. It's in my blood. I don't want him to do good stuff. I also think it would be extremely fun to have Josh Naylor be in the home run derby. So I think he should be in for Marcell Ozuna. I also just kind of am tired of Pete Alonso being in this. Go get a job, you bum. I'm tired. I'm tired of him being in. To be fair, it is the only thing he can do.
This whole thing.
Go get a new stick. Where's the cool bunt derby that like
they're doing that for the Futures game?
Are they for real?
They're doing a Futures game skill showcase, and one of the skills is you can bunt if you want.
I want to see them do like a fielding showcase. You know, have you ever watched the NBA All-Star game, like that stuff where they do the skills games? Just have them do like a weird like arm strength things, like throw it through something, throw it through like a ring. I don't know. I think that'd be really fun. See if people
that are stood up at the plate.
Yeah, or honestly, see if hitters can actually like do like the Tony Gwynn and actually hit to exactly where like they say they're gonna hit. Like that'd be cool. Like have it be like in little landing zones. That'd be pretty fun. I would be really stoked about watching that.
Yeah,
the home run derby is so fun. Home run derby is so fun. Do more cool stuff.
They're doing it. There's going to be something this year. It's going to be with prospects. And it's going to be probably difficult to watch on TV. Unaccessible, but
yeah, well, it's Major League Baseball.
It should be cool. But the home run derby field, I don't know. I think Alec Bohm being in it is weird. Hard to root for Pete Alonso or Adolis Garcia or Teoscar Hernandez or Marcell Ozuna. So it's just
Bobby Witt wins.
Bobby Witt and Jose Ramirez, my boy. Let's do this.
Yeah, I would be okay with I would be all right with Teoscar winning it.
I wouldn't.
Well,
no, he's on the Dodgers.
A random. Well, yeah, but for now, he's just a random guy for me mostly. He feels just
I want Albert Pujols to come back from the dead and win the home run derby in a Cardinals jersey.
So sick. Maybe we'll get a random replacement late. Maybe Marcell Ozuna will get arrested again and he won't be able to do it.
Let's go get him.
Put Josh Naylor in. If Josh Naylor was in, he was the clearest. I want that guy to win.
Yeah, I already got a Guardian though.
Who cares?
Get Helio Ramos in there. That'd be sick. Or Soler. I don't know. Anybody?
Soler would be so fun.
Anybody else? Maybe
do that. I don't know.
That's home run derby. I love watching the home run derby, and I will be tuning in this year.
Great.
But let's hop into the futures game rosters as we are 50 minutes in. I've been dripping sweat the whole time, so we're going to try to make it through these. There's a lot of them, so we'll keep it short. Starting with the American League futures game roster, these are all going to be top prospects. The pitchers, we got lefty Noah Schultz of the White Sox. He's their number 2 prospect and the number 18 prospect in baseball. And we got righty. What'd you say?
He's tall AF.
Is he? How tall is he?
6'8".
Nice. My half brother's 6'7".
Yikes!
I got screwed.
Get him a White Sox jersey.
I got screwed. My mom's 5'2". So I ended up sub
short
6
king.
feet. Yeah.
Short king.
Yeah, I'm above average.
Short king.
The next guy, we got righty Caden Dana. He's the Angels' number 1 prospect, the number 90 prospect in baseball. We've got righty Luis Morales, the A's number 2 prospect. We got righty Ben Kudrna. Kudrna, Kudrna. That is too many consonants in a row. He's the Royals' number 3 prospect. And we got righty AJ Blue Balls. Astros number 6 prospect.
Also one of those names from that Twitter account.
True. Then we got lefty Brock Selvage, the Yankees number 10 prospect, righty Emiliano Teodo, the Rangers number 14. We got also the Rangers number 15 prospect, righty Winston Santos, and the Blue Jays number 23 prospect, righty Fernando Perez. This is the same thing as the Major League All-Star game, where the discrepancies between offensive and defense between both teams is noticeable, but it's flipped. So the American League is way worse pitching and way better hitting, while it's the opposite for the National League. But nonetheless, does anybody in this pitcher group stand out outside of Schultz being 6'8"?
He's 6'9". Actually, I lied.
Nice.
Yeah,
even better.
He has a big obnoxious slider, and he throws a sinker. So he throws the sinker from this giant obnoxious arm slot because he's a gajillion feet tall. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone really extremely stands out. I don't really know a lot of these guys outside of Schultz.
That's what I was saying. The pitchers are way worse in the American League.
I'm about to go find out about Ben Kudrna because his name.
Hey, I got him up. He's at high this year.
I'm assuming it's Kudrna because it's kind of just how it looks like it would be pronounced. If we're wrong, we're wrong, whatever.
Sure. He's at high A this year as a 21-year-old, 64 and 2/3 innings with a 3.20 ERA and a 25% strikeout rate. It looks like he walks too many people. But I don't think he's ever been a guy that's really been super high on prospect list. So maybe just I don't know. Maybe it's something about him growing into his size or something. He was 6'3", 175. So maybe he was tiny and now he's added some weight and is throwing harder or something. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. That's a complete guess.
Fair enough. On to the batters.
Our catchers, we got the great Samuel Basallo. He's the Orioles number 2 prospect and the number 12 prospect in baseball. We got Harry Ford, who's the Mariners number 2 prospect and the number 23 prospect in baseball. And then we got Kyle Teel, who's the Red Sox number 3 prospect and the number 24 prospect in baseball. That's a great trio of catchers.
Pretty stout. Kyle Teel was he last year's pick? Was he a last year?
Yeah, first rounder.
Yeah, from Virginia.
That sounds correct. Virginia,
Okay.
yes, 14th
Great.
overall.
Awesome.
Yeah, so those catchers are really good. All of them inside the top 25 in all of baseball. Our first baseman, we've got Xavier Isaac of the Rays. He's the number 3 prospect and the number 31 prospect in baseball. And then we've got Ralphie Velasquez, who's the number 4 Guardians prospect and the number 87 prospect in baseball. I had never heard of Ralphie before this. I love his first name, so we're gonna look at him.
Great, solid name for sure.
Yeah. He is 19 years old at A-ball, batting .264 with 9 homers and 7 steals. Like whenever you see somebody's stats from like A-ball or high A and earlier, I just like I can't look at that and be like, oh yeah, I get what this guy's going to be like when he grows up. Like he's 19. I have no idea. No clue. But it sounds like he's a good hitter and a first baseman. The second baseman for the American League on the reserve, or not reserves, they don't have starters, is Hao-Yu Lee. He's the Tigers' number 13 prospect. And then to wrap up the middle infield,
they just got him last year.
Was that a draft or a trade?
Trade. That was the Lorenzen trade.
Wow.
To the Phillies. Yeah, he was a Phillies prospect.
He's been 12 homers, 13 steals, batting .301 with a 145 WRC plus at Double-A as a 21-year-old. That's pretty cool.
For half a season of Michael Lorenzen.
Yeah. I'll take that. And then our shortstops, we got a lot and they're really good. We got Marcelo Meyer, who's the Red Sox number 1 prospect and the number 7 prospect in baseball. We got the GOAT Brooks Lee, number 2 Twins prospect. That's right. Number 12 prospect in baseball. We got Colson Montgomery, the number 1 White Sox prospect and the number 16 prospect in baseball. We got Cole Young, who's the Mariners number 1 prospect and the number 22 prospect in baseball. And then Sebastian Walcott, who's the Rangers number 1 prospect and the number 72 prospect in baseball. I'll let you take your choice here.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in Sebastian Walcott because, we're talking about, one, everyone knows like Montgomery. We've seen Lee, and everyone knows Meyer. Meyer's a top 10 prospect. Sebastian Walcott, also kind of a bit more of a slight frame, playing as this guy. I think he's like 18. He's been really good. So far, sort of struggling at like the level, but he's doing well. He's in the top 100. Plus, he kind of gets the little home teaser at the Futures game, which is going to be in Texas. He's a Rangers prospect. I think that one's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, and he's so young, and to be playing at high A ball and like 110 WRC plus. Yeah, he's 6'4", 190. It sounds like he's got all the tools and everything he needs to succeed. It's just going to be about improving as like a professional hitter.
Definitely so. So tell us about the outfielders then, Jake.
All right. We got Max Clark, who's the number 1 Tigers prospect and the number 10 prospect in baseball. We got Spencer Jones, the Yankees number 2 prospect and the number 74 prospect in baseball. We got the Guardians number 3 prospect, Jason Chourio, Jackson's brother, and the number 85 prospect in baseball. We got the Royals number 7 prospect, Gavin Cross, the Rays number 10 prospect, Chandler Simpson. And then we got 2 guys who they did this for the other league as well. They added 2 guys that I think are on the injured list. Outfielder Roman Anthony, the Red Sox number 2 prospect and the number 14 prospect in baseball. And then first baseman Trey Morgan of the Rays. He's their number 13 prospect.
Nice. Who's your guy that you're excited to see from this little outfield?
I think I love when there's like siblings in baseball. So fair. Jason Chourio being there and then having like a really similar name to Jackson too, I think is going to wreak a lot of havoc. But he is really interesting because I think he's got more upside than his brother, mostly because he's yet to tap into his power, but has proven to be like really fast with great bat to ball skills and is playing in the outfield. Everything Jackson Chourio has, but Jason doesn't strike out. 15% so far this year at A-ball as a 19-year-old, and he's walking more than he's striking out. That's not Jackson Chourio's nowhere close to doing that, and he actually struggles with his plate discipline. So I think that's pretty dope, and it feels like we could have like 2 brothers in both leagues that like battle against each other. Maybe they face each other in the World Series. I mean, that would be dope.
That'd be super fun. I am personally really excited to see Gavin Cross. I know he was one that got drafted, and then his prospect star sort of fell a little bit, but I also sort of have a little bit of a vested interest in him because he went to Virginia Tech, which is near where I live, which is really cool. He is one that I'm excited about because I kind of keep up with the Royals. I like a lot of the AL Central teams. I just think they're super fun. A lot of them sort of fit like that mid-market role where there's no team that's just like, they're just going to outspend everybody. And especially not if they play for the Royals, which Gavin Cross will at some point. He's in Double-A right now. He's cut the strikeout rate, which has really been a big problem for him. He's got a 126 WRC plus. He looks like he's coming along pretty well for a bit of an older prospect at this point. Hitting like 413 already.
Rounder, right? Did you say that?
Yep, former first rounder. I think he was the 7th overall pick. I don't know if that's correct.
That sounds so right. Right.
He was the 9th overall pick.
No, I knew it was an odd number in the top 10.
Because we're dumb. He was in 2022. 9th overall pick in the first round. Went to Virginia Tech. Super cool. Want him to do well for a team that I actually really like, which is the Royals. So I'm excited to see Gavin Cross. Tell us about the National League roster.
Yeah. All right. And as I mentioned, the pitchers are way better here while the hitters are worse. So we'll start with the pitchers. Righty Rhett Lauder is the Reds' #1 prospect and the number 20 prospect in baseball. We've got the Rockies' #1 prospect, Chase Dolander, and the number 36 prospect in baseball. We've got the Marlins' #1 prospect, righty Noble Meyer, who's the number 40 prospect in baseball. We've got the Cardinals' #1 prospect, Tink Hence. He's the number 42 prospect in baseball. Lefty Robbie Snelling, the Padres' #2 prospect, is also the number 46 prospect in baseball. Bubba Chandler, a righty for the Pirates. He's their #1 prospect and the number 51 prospect in baseball. Thomas White, a southpaw, is the number 2 prospect for the Marlins, number 57 in baseball. Brandon Sprode, a righty for the Mets, is their number 6 prospect and the number 97 prospect in baseball. And lastly, southpaw Quinn Matthews, the Cardinals' #2 prospect and the number 99 prospect in baseball. Who do you like amongst these guys?
I've always been really, really big on Rhett Lauder. I like Rhett. He also went to Wake Forest, also North Carolina, still close enough to where I live. So I'm sort of interested in like the teams. He's in the ACC. That's like the conference that is close to me. So I'm sort of like invested. I like Rhett Lauder. Also like an 80 grade changeup. He's completely disgusting to watch pitch. Got the long hair, had like a weird mustache. Hey, that sounds like me and Jake. And he throws this completely disgusting changeup. I really like Rhett Lauder. That's like my guy from there, even though he is from the Reds. Kind of struggling so far in like AA, but he's only made like a few starts, and the underlying metrics really support him pretty well. So I'm excited to see Rhett Lauder make a couple hitters look really stupid with his disgusting changeup.
Yeah, and I like Tink Hence. I'm sorry he's on the Cardinals, but he is really good. 3.29 ERA this year at AA as a 21-year-old. And the craziest part is he struck out 32% of the batters he's faced and walked just 7%. I think he's legit, and I'm excited to see him join that Cardinals rotation and make it younger.
That's 400 years. Yeah, it's 400 years old.
Yeah.
They desperately need an injection of youth. So hopefully Tink Hence will bring that to the Cardinals. He is a super exciting one. Tell us about our batters.
All right. We'll start with the catchers. We got Drake Baldwin, who's the number 11 Braves prospect. Tehran Lorenzo, the Dodgers number 8 prospect. And then Ethan Salas, the Padres number 1 prospect and the number 6 prospect in all of baseball. Catcher is definitely a big step down, but I mean, nobody can really compete with Salas.
Definitely. So he's, God, I got to look at the thing again. Yeah, Ethan Salas is top 10 prospect. You can't really compete with that. He is really good.
Yeah,
he'll probably
he struggled
end up being up the next couple of years.
Yeah, he was up to AA last year as a 17-year-old. This year they started him at high A as an 18-year-old, and he's really struggled, batting 198 with just 1 home run. And that was after hitting 9 home runs at A-ball last year. So he's got to figure something out. And with catchers, they can take a long time to develop. So it may be a few more years until we see Salas at the major league level. And he's really going to have to continue to prove that he deserves to be a top 10 prospect. And I really think his prospect pedigree is the only reason he was selected to this team, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tell us about the rest of our hitters, Jake.
All right. I'll do first baseman and second
prospects.
baseman. I'll do first baseman, second baseman, then we'll do third base and shortstop. The first baseman got Bryce Eldridge, who's the Giants number 2 prospect and the number 70 prospect in baseball. And then we got first baseman Davison De Los Santos of the Diamondbacks. He's the number 14 prospect. Then we also got Termar Johnson, a second baseman, number 2 prospect for the Pirates and the number 76 prospect in baseball. And Ural Perez, who's the Dodgers number 17 prospect. I would love to talk about Bryce Eldridge. Giants always feel like they're not great at producing big time prospects, especially on the offensive end. And it's hard to say that now after, like the early 2010s run, and now they've got Helio Ramos coming out of nowhere, but there really haven't been that many Giants hitters that have come up and succeeded for the team. So Eldridge is somebody that gets me really excited. He's only 19, but he's 6'7" and 223 pounds. And he used to be a 2-way player. And now he's just hitting, and he's a beast. He's batting 361 in 10 games at high A as a 19-year-old. And I'm really excited for him because I think he could just be like an elite hitter with power, speed, batting average, contact, and then just stick him at first base and call it a day.
Yeah, I'm not too plugged into either of these first base prospects, but I am actually super stoked to talk about Termarr Johnson. That guy, I think he was he the 3rd overall pick or was he the 2nd overall pick? I know he was I think he was a top 3 pick.
4.
Termarr Johnson he was 4th. 4. Okay. Termarr Johnson is completely nuts. He's going to be, if not the starting second baseman for the Pirates in like a year's time, he'll end up DHing or they'll get him at bats wherever because he will be one of the best hitters on their team the moment he comes up. Since June 26th, he is riding an 11-game hitting streak.
Nice.
He's hitting in that time. He's hitting 391. He has a 491 on base percentage, and that's because he walks like 17% of the time. He has a 587 slug, and he has like a 200. I think it's just shy, like 199, 198 WRC plus. He's insane. He's scored 12 runs. He's hit 3 doubles. He's got insane bat to ball skills, and he's just kind of like a player I really like. Picture, if you will, he's like a left-handed Jose Altuve. He has extreme bat to ball skills. He is very, very good. I like him. I really, really despise that he is a Pirates prospect because even though they're the least offensive team in the NL Central to me, I just hate that all the fun prospects that I really, really care about end up in the NL Central and not playing for the Chicago Cubs.
Hey man, Cubs got the most players on this roster.
That is true, and that is because they have a top 10 farm system. But Termarr Johnson is a really, really fun one.
Yeah,
doesn't strike out much, walks a ton. He's just cool.
Cool. Who is this Geral Perez guy? Because he does not have a lot of data. 126 WRC plus at A ball as a 19-year-old. I guess, sure. I think I only have a problem.
Throw the Dodgers a bone. Nothing ever good.
Right.
Nothing good ever happens to those guys.
That's right. Okay, wrap up the infield. We got third baseman Matt Shaw, the Cubs number 2 prospect and the number 29 prospect in baseball. We got the Reds number 3 prospect Cam Collier. He's the number 84 prospect in baseball. Then we got at shortstop the Phillies number 2 prospect Aiden Miller and the number 27 prospect in baseball. And the last infielder we got is the Brewers number 4 prospect Cooper Pratt, who's the number 95 prospect in baseball. Aiden Miller stands out to me because he is nearly a top 25 prospect, and I know little to nothing about him. He was a first rounder last year, late in the first round by the Phillies, and he's worked his way up to high A this year as a 21-year-old or as a 20-year-old. So far between A ball and high A, 7 home runs, 13 steals. Not that great. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not too plugged in on him. I know a little bit about like Cam Collier, and that's just because he's kind of a fun third base prospect. But I'm obviously going to talk about Matt Shaw, who is a top 30 prospect, obviously in the Cubs system. He actually is on Fangraphs. He's still listed as being in AA. They had him on MLB.com as listed on being on the Iowa Smokies roster, so I don't know if he's supposed to be getting called up soon or not. But he's been really, really good in AA. He's got a 131 WRC plus. He's striking out about 20% of the time, walking almost it's about 13.5% of the time, doing really well. Hit 10 home runs, hits a lot of doubles. Kind of like a player that's really similar to like the prospect, like pedigree of like Jordan Westburg. Like he's very Jordan Westburg-esque, like second base, third base kind of guy. He'll be sort of an infielder that just hits, and he'll just hit his way into wherever he's going to play. Realistically for him. But yeah, I think he's going to be one. He's another one of like, you keep seeing them get drafted recently where it's like the older like college bats that are sort of fast tracked to the majors. And I think the Cubs are sort of one that's like, they're drafting a lot of those guys. That's like, okay, we have the younger tier talents. We need someone like Matt Shaw. That's like, all right, our team's really ass. So we need somebody that will be up soon to hopefully help. Matt Shaw been really, really good. Big fan of his.
All right. We can wrap things up with the outfielders in the National League Futures game, starting with recent promotion, James Wood, the Nationals number 1 prospect and the number 2 prospect in all of baseball. And he's joined on this all-star team with former teammate outfielder Dylan Cruz, the Nationals number 2 prospect, the number 4 prospect in baseball. That's pretty wild. They got both of those guys. Then we got the Cubs number 3 prospect, Owen Casey, who's the number 34 prospect in baseball. The Phillies number 3 prospect, Justin Crawford. That's Carl Crawford's son. And the and the number 55 prospect in baseball. We got Andrew Jones' son, who's the Diamondbacks number 3 prospect, number 79 prospect in baseball. And then our 2 guys on the IL that got honorable mentions, catcher Moises Ballesteros, who's the Cubs number 5 prospect and the number 60 prospect in baseball. And then the Nationals number 3 prospect, third baseman Brady House, is the number 44 prospect in baseball.
There is one more to add because Owen Casey got taken off of the roster. I think he has an injury, but he's been replaced with another Chicago Cub, and that is James Triantos, who I will talk about some now. He is also in Double-A with Matt Shaw. He is got a 133 WRC plus. He's a guy that me and Jake will like a whole lot because guess how much he's striking out, Jake?
Less than he walks.
It is more than he walks, but guess what his cumulative strikeout rate is?
69.
9%. He strikes out 9% of the time.
Less
he walks
than
about
10.
5%. He walks out about 5, or he walks about 5% of the time. Really big bat to ball skills. The whole hype about him was when he got drafted. He was a high school bat. And his entire senior year of high school ball, he hit like 833, and he struck out approximately this many times.
Did you do a 0? Did you do this? I missed it.
He did this many times. He struck out 0 times.
That's wild.
In his high school year, like his last year. He's really fun. Third base prospect. He's got really good contact skills. Not a super huge power bat, but he's reaching into it a little bit more. His previous high throughout an entire stop in the minor leagues was 7 home runs. Already got 7 home runs this year. He was sort of like a tools kind of guy, and now that it seems like he's getting a little bit more out of it, he is a fun one. Another one that I'm also really excited for is Dylan Cruz, just because top prospect pedigree, college bat. We talked about that. James Wood already made his debut, or else he would be the one that I would want to talk about. My brother-in-law is a huge Nationals fan, so I kind of keep an eye on the Nationals players and their prospects because they don't really have any players worth on their roster to actually watch. But Dylan Cruz is going to be a really fun one once he's up, and hopefully that time is soon.
Do you think that police officers that are friends call each other's brother-in-law?
I hope so. I really hope so. Maybe they do.
Maybe they do. Hey, what's up, my brother-in-law? Let's go get that bread.
If they don't, they should.
Yeah.
Who's your guy from this last little chunk that you
my guy accidentally just deleted it. Drew Jones. Drew Jones was somebody that really excited me initially because, like you were talking about Triantos, he had just like insane high school numbers. Then his dad is like a borderline Hall of Famer. And so I was really excited to see what Drew Jones could do. But he came up and he was terrible in his first season with the Diamondbacks, in his first season in pro ball, but now he's starting to figure things out. I mean, he's still just 20 years old, so you like have to give him a little bit of a break, and he's going straight from high school to playing with professional baseball players. He hasn't done the things that we wanted him to do, like cut back on the strikeouts or like make more contact, but what he is doing is he's tapping into more power, and having more luck, I guess. He's been a 116 WRC plus this year, 5 homers and 9 steals. And I think I'm just mostly glad that he's been able to find some level of success, because I was worried after his initial showing in pro ball that he was just going to be an enormous bust and would never make the majors, which that happens a lot in baseball, even for guys that are drafted first or second overall. But the way that he's played this year is, giving me faith that in a few years or so, Drew Jones is going to be major league ready.
Definitely so. That's all we have to talk about the Futures game. You mentioned the skills challenge. That's going to be a fun watch. What other news do we have to cover before we wrap this one up, Jake?
We have 2 small trades that have occurred. The first one was back on July 3rd. The Rays traded right-handed starter Aaron Civale to the Brewers in exchange for shortstop Gregory Berrios. Berrios is a 20-year-old shortstop. He's at high A this year and has hit 1 home run with 18 steals, a sub 10%. He's like James Triantos if he didn't hit home runs. So that's him. That's Gregory Berrios. And then Civale, who started off the year strong and then really came back down to earth, and now we'll look to figure things out in Milwaukee. He's still got another year of control after this year, but it's interesting because the Rays literally just went out and traded for him at last year's deadline. So they've had him for a year and got rid of him. So he will join a Brewers rotation that could really use some help. But I think the biggest thing here is there have been studies done about the trade deadline, and if a change of scenery is actually something that can be expected, and is something that is like a real thing. The study found that players who had poor first halves with one team, with their initial team, and then got traded to a team in another league tend to have like huge bounce backs in the second half. That is the case for Savale, who performed poorly in the first half, switching to the National League from the American League. And so he could go off from here. I think it is directly correlated to like the familiarity factor. Maybe like the hitters, they go to another league and the pitchers don't know how to face them, or they're getting different ballparks, or that kind of stuff. And then the pitchers, all the batters haven't seen them yet. So when they go to another league, it's like, all over again. Oh, we've never seen this guy. So that's pretty interesting on that front, that I think Savale could be really good for the Brewers.
Yeah, I typically trust the Brewers. It's almost like it's weird when the Rays like sort of trade a guy, because
you're like, what's wrong with him?
What's wrong with that guy? But the Brewers, if there's any team that I would trust to fix a starter that's been bad, it's the Milwaukee Brewers. They just consistently do this. They're very good. And Aaron Savale's been mid, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think he can end up being a solid middle of the rotation guy. And I picked him up in our fantasy league the literal moment that I saw him get traded to the Brewers, because I'm like, okay, the Brewers can fix this guy. And it's mainly because you look at some of like the really on like face value numbers, like his FIP, it's mid. His ERA, it sucks. His big deal is he has been really bad with runners on. He sucks at mitigating damage. Once he gets runners on, he's letting them score, and he's not generating very many whiffs. We know that about Aaron Savale. He sort of sucks at doing that. We knew that was the big problem when he played for Cleveland. He has really, really good secondaries. You can go see clips of him already now against the Dodgers. He struck out Shohei Ohtani on a sweeper that was like 3,000 RPM because he's just got good secondaries. I think if the Brewers pitch lab can fix him, I think he will be a really, really good middle of the rotation guy. And he really strikes me as like immediately who I thought of when they're like, oh, they got him. And you know what he'll turn into for them? He'll be Wade Miley 2.0. And that's exactly what he'll be. He'll just be Wade Miley. And Wade Miley for the Brewers, guess what? He was nails. He was really, really good. And nobody was like, hey, that Wade Miley guy is really good, until he carved them up for like 6, where they got 4 hits off of him and he struck out 7. And they were just like, what happened? And it's like, it feels like this guy's mid. Great. He's done well. I think Aaron Savale will do well for the Brewers. Most starters there do.
Yep. And then the only other notable trade that's occurred since the calendar flipped to June was Phil Maton being traded from the Rays to the Mets. I think it was for cash considerations. But that one's notable mostly because it's just sort of weird. But here's a tweet that I'm going to read word for word. It's from Michael Barker at REKRABMB on Twitter. He said, if I had a nickel for every time a former Astros reliever signed a 2-year, $10 million deal, including a club option with the Rays, and was then traded to the Mets before the end of the contract, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Because this happened with Brooks Raley, who is now out for the year with Tommy John surgery, but that happened last year with Brooks Raley, and now is the same thing that's happening with Maton. And this is another situation of a guy having a poor first half and changing leagues. So I think Maton, who I was pretty hyped about in the offseason because of his signing with the Rays, could actually be pretty decent for a bullpen in Queens that is desperate for relievers.
Yeah, they are in some dire straits in terms of what their bullpen is currently looking at. If you did not
going down.
Yeah, if you didn't know anything about Phil Maton, and you do now, his nickname literally on Baseball Reference and what they call him is spin rate, and that's because that's what he produces. He doesn't throw hard. All of his secondaries are wicked. They're all like 3,300 plus like RPMs, like this big weird sweeping curve ball, and he has kind of like a slider and like a changeup. He's just nasty. It's just been a little bit rough. He was really, really good in 2023. My only problem with this is he sucked for the Rays. The Rays are usually a team that make players better. And now you're going to the Mets, which usually, all hands up, the Mets kind of make relievers worse unless your name is Edwin Diaz. And even he sucked the first year he was there. So I don't know. I think they didn't give up jack shit for him. So if he sucks, he sucks. They have plenty of cash to go around. Steve Cohen can just swim in it if he really wanted to. But yeah, it's literally a no risk move with a ton of upside for a bullpen that is at last call at the last chance saloon right now is what it feels like. They have absolutely nobody left in that bullpen that's worth anything. So hopefully Phil Maton can still be good there. He's I don't know. I like Phil Maton. Watching him, he's really similar to Ottavino now, and I think that's something that is a little bit like, I guess, reassuring if you're the Mets. He's a similar pitcher in my mind to Ottavino. Really crazy spin rate, great stuff. But the DFA for him is a little weird. I think the DFA Lucchesi, who is kind of a swingman that they sort of need because their starters are not great either.
We'll get Senga back soon.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. I like that a little more. Then I didn't know when Senga's timeline was.
Yeah, that's it.
Great. Well, that's our podcast. It's number 99. Hopefully not next week. We'll do the week after next.
At some point, and it's going to be crazy. We're going to go 24 hours.
Unless one of us dies, we're doing the week after next. I just can't do it next week.
Yeah, me neither. I just can't do 2 weeks in a row anymore.
Yeah. We're terrible at podcasts.
No, it's because I have so many other podcasts, bruv.
Wow. This guy's lazy bones.
I got too big. I got too big for the Athletes Hub.
Wow. Anyway, we're not even going to plug them anymore. We're just going to do our own thing. So from this point, if you have not followed our twitter.com accounts /X or whatever you want to call that wretched website, you can go follow me at DVS Bird. That is my Twitter account, and you can follow me where I post some about baseball, a lot about other sports also. If you're really plugged into soccer, I post a lot about soccer. I'm wearing an England jersey because they won the semifinal today. Congratulations. If you want to follow Jake, who actually provides insightful analysis because he is good at his job, go follow him at Jake Crumpler. And then check out the multitude of sites he writes for, such as...
Yeah, pitcherlist.com, Baseball HQ. Over at Pitcherlist, I do a weekly bullpen podcast called Independent. It comes out every Friday. I do the weekend editions of Pitcherlist's daily podcast, the First Pitch podcast. So check that out Saturday and Sunday mornings. If you just want to find all my podcasts, just go on the podcast app or Spotify and just search my name, and all my podcasts come up. It's pretty dope. And then I do a weekly bullpen article over at pitcherlist.com. And then I also do playing time analysis for Baseball HQ for the Giants, A's, and Diamondbacks. But if you want to find all of my work, it's over at crumplerbaseball.com, which really needs to be updated. But nonetheless, you'll be able to find links to my author pages on the multitude of websites for which I write and podcast.
Awesome. Go follow the Athletes Hub on Twitter or Facebook, because that's where you can see our podcasts. I don't know what the deal with that website is because nobody's producing content for it. We are the only ones that are making content for it, but it is what it is. But it is what it is. We'll figure out whatever we're going to do with this thing in the future. But yeah, that's us. We're a small time podcast. We really appreciate any of the possible feedback and help that we can get. Views mean a lot to us. We're just doing this mainly for fun. It's cool to do. We like to talk about baseball, but that's all we have for now. Check back in with us like the week after next. Peace.